So hey Alex, this is your new bike, huh?
Yep, it's my way of getting around these days.
Oh yeah?
I'm kind of obsessed with it. Guess how fast it goes?
How fast does it go?
It goes like 26.5 miles per hour at the fastest.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually really fast. And this is, I wanted to show you, so if you want to turn it on, you just like do this. Your screen comes on. And then it even has light, so if you hold this button, you can't exactly see out here, but in the garage you can see. It gets a headlight, it's got a light on the back.
Ah, it's got a headlight.
The odometer currently at 53 miles on this sucker, and I've only charged it twice, so the range is actually pretty good. On average, that's like, what, 26.5 miles per...
Where's that rear headlight?
Oh.
Or tail light?
It's just like, since it's sunny, you probably can't see it.
Oh yeah, it's got a reflector.
Up. Yeah, it lights up.
Oh, it lights up too though, okay,
well,
cool.
It's lit. Like, whenever you do it in the dark, you can see it.
So it's a reflector?
Well,
or is it a light?
It's got a light. Like,
it's got a light then,
I
okay.
turn the lights on. It's got a headlight that's on. You just can't see it because of the sun, but
I got you, that's fine.
And
I see it says electric.
Yeah, it's pedal assisted, and it's called a class 2 because it's not just pedal assisted, it's also got the throttle.
Oh, okay.
So you can basically just throttle this sucker and you don't have to pedal at all and it'll go. Or you can set these different, see this PAS, pedal assisted, is 0. So right now if I'm pedaling or if I throttle on 0, nothing happens. But if I go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's like the speed it'll assist me to. As long as I'm pedaling, it'll keep me at a certain speed.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Do you want me to try it out, or do you want to try it out?
No, let's see you try it out.
All right.
I like you got your nerd gear on here too. You got your little pink signaling vest. You got your helmet. Your little mirrors.
On the road, because I want to show you kind of how fast the acceleration on this thing is kind of incredible.
Okay.
Okay, how you feel? It's heavy, isn't it?
No, it's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be, but man, this is, I haven't been on a bike in a minute.
You think you can handle this?
I hope so.
Okay, Michael's going to test drive my bike.
Use this thing? I just up here?
Yeah, just push the little plus button.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
It's got a throttle.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh jeez.
Oh, you fell.
How do you stop that thing again?
There are brakes on it.
I mean, I guess this way worked okay.
All right. Perhaps the bike is not for everyone. All right, so you guys got to check out my new ride.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Poor Michael. It's not meant for people whose center of gravity is so much higher than mine.
Everyone keeps calling me a whale.
It makes it hard to bike when you have that much weight on you.
It's the weight of the world on my shoulders, not my midsection.
The weight of the whale on your shoulders. Anyways, so I did sell my car, in part because we were moving across the country, but while I planned on buying another car when we got here, I got to thinking about strategically how it may be in my best interest to try to prolong buying a car if I can, because I think that the car market is going to be much better.
Prolong buying a car, it sounds like you want the process to go on for a long time. Like you want to shop for a car. Like you just want to go to a lot of car lots and a lot of places.
Well, that part is fun too.
It sounds like more like you want to delay buying a car?
Yeah, I want to delay buying a car. Maybe not prolong the process, but I want to delay the process because...
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Because you said you were going to get a car in 2 weeks after moving here. We're at week 3-ish.
And I bought a neat bike. I was like, I think a bike is a better move. Well, first of all, it's very flat, very bikeable to me. And we'll see how it goes with work. If I need to get a car sooner, I will. But I just would love to capitalize on the premium that I sold my car for, capture that, and then redeploy the capital for a car when it's a lot lower cost, so I can kind of, I guess, make some money on the spread.
So 2 weeks to get the car. Does that mean you're going to get it probably September of this year?
No, actually, that'd be like next September. I'm just kidding.
But I have a question. So it sounds like you're pessimistic on car prices, at least currently. Why is that?
Yes, I think many people are.
Yeah, why is that? Why don't you want to buy a car today?
Well, there's a few reasons. The first is that cars are cash depreciating assets. They're not a good investment. So
that would be a cash depreciating asset as opposed to a cash appreciating asset. That is an asset you buy that spins off cash, which also could be compared to an asset that's simply a store of value. That is, it neither gives you cash nor really takes cash.
right.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people would consider a home to be probably cash neutral,
Yeah, like a store of value.
store of value.
Yeah. Because the real return on residential property from 1890 to 2010 was 0.2% in real
Yeah.
terms, which is a store of value.
Cars, I mean, everyone knows this. As soon as you take it off the lot, immediately the value goes down by like, what, $5,000-$10,000 if you buy brand new sticker price.
Yeah, usually 20, 30, 40%. Yeah.
So-
the reasoning behind that being, right, that if you're selling it right after having bought it, there must be some defect. And that's what buyers are going to assume. I've always heard that's the reason why. Right?
Yeah, so
Which
I
makes
think
sense.
yeah, so I just think cars are never a good investment. I think they are depreciating, massively depreciating usually. I guess with the exception being classic cars
Right.
or vintage cars.
Yeah, the caveat would be that antiques sort of hold their value because they're not being made and they have a scarcity. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Although theoretically, we could also have we could have a return to making sort of antique style cars, and maybe the ones out there in the market today would be worth a little bit less, but hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that does seem to be an exception.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to buy a classic vintage car.
Right.
An antique car is not going to be my purchase. So
You say cars are a bad investment. What if I said, well, Alexis, I'm using my car, not this fancy schmancy electric bike that, by the way, nobody can ride. These things are ridiculous.
no, they're easy to ride as long as you're not clumsy.
Clumsy? Yeah, okay. Well, some people would say if I'm using a car to get to a job, from point A to point, from my house to my job, I think it's a great investment, right?
But if you can also e-bike, think about this: no insurance cost, no gas. It's electric, so it's just better. However, yes, I mean, when I get a car, it will be to get from point A to point B. I simply think that if you can forego a vehicle at this time, it makes sense, only because we're going to see the car market. I think we're going to see car prices drop. I think they're really high right now.
Okay.
I don't really have any like specific metrics that I can mention, but I know that they're out there.
There's the Manheim Auto Index. I think it's Manheim Used Auto Index.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, the Manheim Used Auto Index has gone up like this, along with everything else, including housing prices, stocks, cryptocurrencies, and now it's started to go down like this. Again, like everything else, including stock, housing prices, and currencies. So usually when you see a parabolic rise, secondary to N2 money flooding the economy, you tend to see a subsequent decline.
And we're just seeing like the little tip of the downward
Yeah.
trend. So yeah, probably about a year from now, prices will be much better.
Could be.
And I'd like to get something on discount if I can.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll argue with myself then, because I left this as low-hanging fruit for you. But probably, even though you need a car to get from point A to point B, probably people don't have to spend an entire year's worth of income to get from point A to point B.
No, of course not.
Right,
But
if
that's given. I mean, I didn't even have to make that point because I feel like that's obvious.
I don't think it's given or it's obvious. You consider this: the median income in the country is about $45,000. What's the average car price today?
Probably 20, 25, 30.
30, 35, $40,000.
Point.
I mean,
Good point.
people are spending almost an entire year's worth of income, and that's year on a pre-tax basis. If you consider post-tax basis, they're definitely spending a year of post-tax earnings just for a car that'll last for what, 10 years?
Perhaps, but maybe those aren't the same people that are buying the $40,000 car. I mean, these could be two different cohorts of people.
They might be.
People
but there's
who are
some
making
overlap.
$40,000 a year may be buying a used car for $8,000.
Oh, come on. You and I have gone through neighborhoods and we've seen, houses in disrepair, stray dogs running around, people, you can hear like people fighting three blocks down, people fighting 2 blocks in the opposite direction. And everyone has a nice, fresh, new car.
I don't know. I think that I don't agree. I mean, I think we've seen that from time to time, but usually it's an exception rather than the rule that you see like a flashy car in a driveway in a lousy area of town.
Yeah.
All right, we'll agree to disagree. But all I'm saying is maybe people do overspend. I think we can agree that probably people tend to leverage their purchases when they buy a car, and that's
Right.
not smart. never makes sense to put a cash depreciating asset and to purchase a cash depreciating asset
on a loan
with a loan.
Sure.
Like that doesn't make any sense.
You take a down payment of like 20%, you leverage it out 5 times, let's say in a car loan, and you immediately have a return on that. Let's say you do that. Let's say you spend $10,000 to buy a $50,000 car, and so you're borrowing $40,000.
And don't forget the interest rates now are higher than they were a year ago.
And you drive that car off the lot, and immediately it goes from a value of $50,000 to let's say $40,000. You immediately lost 20% of your investment.
And you're still going to pay interest on that.
Right, and you're paying interest on that for 7-10 years. You know?
Yeah.
And they're making auto loans longer, and they're making, as you pointed out, the interest rates are rising. As sovereign debt interest rates rise, the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. 10-year Treasury being the benchmark, as that debt rises, all their debt rises too, including car debt.
So I think it's we can agree on that most people probably do. I think that's a matter of fact. People tend to use loans to buy cars more than they buy cash. And also, I think maybe this is a little more subjective, but I do think a lot of people treat their vehicle as luxury rather than a means of getting from point A to point B, which is not me.
Yeah.
So I just don't see any utility in owning a vehicle right now when I could delay that purchase until prices are more palatable for me. And I'd like to get something a little nicer if I can. I just don't want to pay for more of that luxury. If I can time the purchase and get a little more of a luxury item, I will.
Yeah, but for me, I'm pursuing a different strategy. Instead of running around like a nutcase on an e-bike, I just have a very inexpensive car that I'm holding on to until maybe it catches fire like my first one did.
I think you're going to have to pay someone to take that car off of you.
I don't think so.
And I'd rather be cruising around feeling cool on my e-bike than in a dingy, beat-up car. Also, I always wear my helmet, and I wear my, as you guys saw, my reflective jacket. I got side view mirrors installed. I think I'm taking reasonable steps to maintain safety while I'm on the road on a bike. So I guess we have 2 different approaches, but we're coming to the same conclusion here, which is that we want to delay purchasing vehicles for some period of time.
Yeah, definitely. So to review so far, we talked about how cars are cash depreciating assets, that people tend to buy them on leverage and probably shouldn't, and also that a lot of people treat them like a luxury. Even in the market today, even with the markets being overvalued, you can get a reasonably priced sedan for about $7,000. I know this because she just sold a reasonably priced sedan for $7,000.
Yep.
Before we moved.
Yep.
So you can find decent cars on the market that will get you from point A to point B and don't have a lot of the flash. Obviously, the sweet spot to get, if you can, is cars that are 2 or 3 years old. If you need to buy a car now, right? Get a car that's at least 2 or 3 years old. Pre-owned is great. If you can get a pre-owned car that's been maintained by a leasing organization that has a good track record of all the times they took it in for oil changes and tire changes, rotations, everything else, that's really good. So there's a sweet spot there. There's also a sweet spot just in the general used market. Of course, you always have to watch out for cars in areas like California. Parts of, I think, Northern California were flooded recently. Back in 2005, there was a lot of flooding in New Orleans, unfortunately, and you had to be a little careful with the markets there with used cars because it's hard to detect flood damage, and it just kind of gets in there and muddles with everything. So you are always taking a bit of a risk with any used car, but going used can be really good for getting a good deal.
Absolutely.
I've also had experience not directly with automobile auctions. Those are available if you don't really care kind of what car you have. You can get government seized vehicles or bank seized vehicles. In fact, I think we've already started to see an uptick in the repossession rate. I think we're going to see it go even higher. And as repossession rates go higher, those are going to be on the market, flood the market, so to speak, with repossessed vehicles. And then that will drive prices down even further. Because all the people who went out and spent their COVID stimmies, their stimmy checks on vehicles, probably very foolishly, if they lose their jobs, they're not going to be able to service that debt. They're not going to be able to keep those cars. And that'll be the first thing to go. People will stay in their houses for as long as they can, but
those flashy cars.
They'll get rid of cars if they have to. They'll go down from 2 or 3 cars in a family to just 1 car.
I mean, heck, we just did, and we don't even need to, but it kind of was, to be fair, it was circumstantial for us. But on the flip side of that, yes, you can buy used cars. You can also sell used cars, and then you can take some of your proceeds, pocket them, and take a smaller amount, say $700, and buy yourself an electric bike. and I'm going to unplugging the bike I have because it's awesome. It goes almost 26 miles an hour, and it's got lights. It's got like a 35-mile range that you can get before you need to charge. It's super portable, foldable, relatively lightweight. I'm going to put a link up. I'm not making anything on this. I just love this bike. And, on the flip side, yes, you could buy used, but you can also sell used.
So as I was saying, we can, I don't have direct experience with the auction markets of directly buying them off of government auctions or repossess auctions, but there are dealers that I've run into. I bought a car in Tampa, Florida doing this. There are dealers that will go to those auctions. They'll pick up whatever is being sold, trying to get it at a good price, and they'll be able to offer you very competitive pricing on that. Sometimes, 10, 15% discount to what most other dealers can offer, because they're picking these up at auction maybe at a 50% discount. They can sell it to you at maybe a 20% discount, and you both come out ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So keeping an eye for dealers who work hard to give you a good bid-ask spread. And this is in contrast to the typical dealer model. They'll pay maybe, they'll pay out 10% below market rate, right, for a car, and they'll sell it at market rate or something like that. So keeping an eye for dealers who go to auctions, or yourself if you have the time and ability to go to an auction, is a great way to pick up a car too.
Sure.
Buying it in cash, and then if you're going to buy a nice car doing this, especially at today's inflated prices, realize when you're doing it as a luxury, and sit down and think, like, if you're going to go out and buy a car for $40,000, is that really worth it to you? Sit down and price that out.
But I'm just going to make one more comment. I feel like we're going back and forth on this. You can also do that in a year. And in the meantime, you can use a bike, because I feel like right now, even if you're able to find like a sale, okay, fine. But the sale is going to be probably much more attractive if you can wait a few months, a year.
Okay. All right. Let's get fun with this. Let's do a couple predictions. Let's take 2 car models. Let's say a Toyota Corolla, let's say year 2021. Mm-hmm. Right? Which I think probably sells, we'll put the price up, but I think right now it's selling for about $24,000. Okay. And let's take, a decent Acura. I don't know all the Acura models, but like Acuras, they're kind of nice. Yeah. Let's say a decent Acura that's selling for around $45,000 today. Okay, in a year, what do you think the prices of those will be? Let's hear your predictions.
Okay, well, first of all, the Acura, are we talking about like their crossover or like their sedan?
I'm saying, let's say an Acura 2-door car that's worth currently today, January 27th, 28th. Let's say today that's worth about $40,000 to $45,000.
Okay, I think it would be pretty reasonable to expect your luxury car to probably see a little bit of a steeper drop percentage-wise. So maybe the luxury Acura comes down 30% off of the value that it is today. So
okay.
if it's $40,000, we'll say that's $12,000 off. So that would bring it in at like $28,000 a year from now. And then the Toyota Corolla, what did you say the price would be today for that?
Let's say it's about $24,000.
I bet that only comes down maybe like 20%.
Okay.
So what price did you say? Sorry, I forgot.
24,000. So
maybe it comes down
5,000.
Yeah,
almost
5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I think that the luxury brands, they have a little more of a steep discount. You might be able to
I think you might be right. What I want to do, it's interesting we bring up those brands. I think they both might go down as much as, honestly, it maybe takes longer than a year, but I could see them going down 50, even 80%.
Yeah, but
especially the luxury stuff.
You think that about the housing market too, and we disagree on this because I don't know if it'll go quite as I don't think the drop will be quite as severe as you expect.
Well, let me tell you a story, okay? Mm-hmm. Take all your Bitcoin bros. You guys know Bitcoin bros, maybe not personally, but you've heard of them. And probably in holidays, you've over the last couple of years, you've had this spunky young kid who's come around and said, "Oh, I made all this Bitcoin money." He probably drove to your house in a Lamborghini
or a Tesla.
Or Tesla. He's so excited.
It's going to the moon. It's going to the moon.
But here's my thinking on that. All these Bitcoin bros who bought really fancy cars. I don't know how many of them liquidated their cars, but what I want to do is I want to get a car off of them. Mm. So they went out and they blew, let's say, $100,000 for, I don't know, Lamborghini. I don't know the luxury car market. Okay, and I figure I want to go out in about a year after Bitcoin bros are totally broke, and I'm not vindictive about it. They're just, I think they're going to be broke. And a lot of other people are broke, and everyone's jobless. Okay. And I want to go out and I want to get that $100,000 Lamborghini for like $10,000 because Bitcoin bro needs to sell his Lamborghini, right? And I want to drive around in this Lamborghini, and okay, fine. I'm aware that it's probably going to have stripper glitter and coke dust lining the upholsteries. But I figure if I ever get tired and I'm driving along the road with my nice fancy $10,000 Lamborghini, I can just turn and I can sniff the upholstery and get a little bit of that coke dust going, and I will be good to go.
The cocaine-lined upholstery is complimentary.
It's complimentary. It's free of charge.
And if you consider the value there, that's actually adding some value to the car.
Well, anyway, that's my plan. As for specific price predictions for...
But let me just say one thing. I don't agree that those Bitcoin people are going broke. That's another disagreement that we have going. But
we'll see.
I think they're going to be a little bit of a slump, but I think that long term they're going to be just fine.
Well, it might
be someone else. Maybe someone that's in a different investment class is going to be going broke. I don't know.
We'll see. I'll have to drive out to Silicon Valley or Miami or something and find all those Bitcoin bro Lamborghinis and pick one up.
All
we'll
right,
see. We'll see what happens in the markets. As for specific predictions for the Toyota Corolla and for a $40,000 to $45,000 2021 year Acura, I don't know. I think a year from now we might see. I think conservative. I think 40 to 50% off of each. I think we could probably get.
Holy moly! I don't know. I'm interested to see what other people think. I think they're gonna be like, Michael, you're nuts.
Right.
You're completely bonkers. Because even in 2006, when we had the housing crash, were cars even affected at that time? But then again, interest rates were always kind of held at zero, so I'm sure the car market wouldn't have really been affected at that time by this. It's different now with interest rates, but interesting to see what will happen.
Sure. Well, we'll see what happens. There's a bit of speculation that I'm doing here too. The one last point I wanted to make is that the overall automobile industry is very crooked.
Oh yeah.
For decades, unions have been keeping prices artificially increased. Union wages, for at least for domestic cars. Tariffs have been keeping price increase on exports. Government regulations requiring all kinds of things, including safety equipment that I think is probably not all that important or effective, as well as the introduction of CAFE standards, which have actually made cars more expensive but less safe. We'll look into those sometime if you like. All those things have made new cars more expensive. And then you look at the used car market, you can find some decent dealers out there, but a lot of dealers, they're just really shifty. They're really crooked. They play games. There aren't a lot of industries that I'm going to look at and say, you know what? Most people in this industry are crooked. I'll say that about the car market. They're crooked. Sorry.
Coming out.
I'm coming out swinging.
With blades.
I'm coming out blades. Because, they'll have a showroom. They'll mark up the cars, 5,000, let's say 10%, 15%. Above the wholesale purchase price, and they'll play all these games. Oh, here's the price to get you in the door, and then it's going to be another $1,000 for this, and there's this fee. You go into it, and it's. I don't know why the American public puts up with this. I really have no idea. I guess just because it's convention.
I suppose customary.
It's custom. It's tradition. It's one of our dumber traditions. All right, I don't like it. I don't respect it. I think anybody who goes out, and buys a car at a dealership is making a mistake. I think you should consider getting one used, or you should go to a very small dealership that does a niche thing like go to auctions. I
mean, I don't disagree with you, but also if you consider the fact that now that is customary and people know that they're going to walk in and negotiate a price down with the car, then the salespeople who are trying to make commission and some sort of profit, they are going to try to upsell because they know people are going to try to
I don't have a problem with salesmen making profits. I don't have a problem with merchants making money on the bid-ask spread. That's all fine. I just don't like their tactics. I know they're shifty. They're often dishonest. They're fraudulent. Sorry, I'm just not a fan. I'm not saying every single automobile salesman is fundamentally dishonest. I won't say that because I've run into some that are okay. I will say, by and large, it's a pretty corrupt industry.
Yeah, it's definitely got a little bit of that feel of everything's kind of behind the curtains. Nothing's there's a lack of transparency in that.
And by the way, I feel the same thing about medicine, right? The fact that you can't go, with pricing mechanisms especially. And I'm not going to go into this at length, but yeah, if you can't go into a hospital and have a ballpark idea what you're going to pay for something, the system's screwed.
Like a mechanic.
Yeah, it's the same thing there too. Right?
Oh boy, we're upsetting a lot of people here. We're talking.
The people who participate in these systems healthcare systems and automobile sales in mechanics, they don't always have control of the pricing mechanisms. I understand that.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Not everyone involved in those industries has some sort of problem or issue.
But it is a kind of a shifty industry. It's hard to know what things are really valued at. Like, for example, I sold my car to someone privately when you go to a dealership, you're not really sure if what they're valuing your car at is appropriate or not.
That's another thing good about private sales. I wouldn't recommend doing this with bullion because the you probably don't get as much. I mean, private sales are fine, but with cars, there really is a difference. I mean, I think they're going to offer you $5,500 for the car that you.
I don't remember the exact, but I just know that on.
I do remember because you told me.
But on like Craigslist, and when I looked at what other cars were between just personal transactions between two people privately, I knew that I should get more than what they offered me, and I was able to very easily. I mean, I posted it within like a day. I had an offer, and I went with that person, and I had kind of. Once I had already sold it, because I did it so quickly, I had multiple other people calling looking for it, and the price was significantly higher, listed significantly higher than what the dealership was willing to offer me.
Yeah, well, $7,000 versus $5,500.
Right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, my pitch here is, look, I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk here. I think that right now is a great time to sell your car if you're able to. Wait a little bit, find alternative ways to get around, whether it's public transport or an electric bike or just a manual bike, if you're able to, and hold on to your cash and then use it in about a year and get something twice as nice, maybe, if you're right. I think about maybe 30% nicer than what you could get.
Or another way to look at this is to front run the price decrease or price declines, or front run any potential unemployment. If you believe that we're about to enter a recession or we're already in one, employment rates will go up, right? People will lose their jobs. And the prices of things that are consumer discretionary like cars will go down, irrespective of the other factors we've mentioned, such as the price having already risen a lot, and also the impact of interest rates being higher, causing fewer people to buy cars on credit, and therefore that decreasing demand for cars. You can front run that trade. So right now, if you're sitting on a brand new $30,000 or $40,000 car or truck, right, which some people are, you might consider selling it, getting a very inexpensive car for about $4,000 or $5,000. Let's say your $5,000 car loses 50% in percentage terms, and your $40,000 car or truck, if you would have kept it, also loses 50% in your percentage terms. Now you're converting a loss of $20,000 to just $2,500, and you still can have a car, right? It's a great way to save some money, especially if you have you use debt to buy that car.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially if you're leveraged, then you can get rid of that loan and just buy in cash. You don't have that interest payment.
And on top of that, even if you bought in cash, you can still save yourself potentially a loss of $20,000. On a $40,000 new car.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how far things go down. I don't know if I agree it'll be a 50% drop, but we will see. We'll have to follow up with this in about a year. Whenever I buy my car, I'll let you guys know. Yeah. And I'll let you guys know the spread I made. Hopefully it's significant.
And if I have to buy a car because mine catches on fire and has a tree land on it and maybe gets mauled by a polar bear, then I'll let you guys know too. So to review, we talked about how cars are a bad investment. They're cash depreciating assets, right? There are problems buying them new. There could be problems buying them used.
And don't trust your mechanic or your car salesman. If he has anything to do with cars, don't trust the guy.
All right, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. All right.
I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Watch out for the massive depreciation of cars.
Watch out for the car guy. Just kidding. I'm sorry, I gotta stop.
Except for classic antiques. Classic cars are antiques. Don't avoid buying on leverage, buying with debt. And if you're going to treat your car like a luxury or buy a car for a luxurious purpose, just frame your head around that. This is what I'm doing, right? We also covered that we both believe that cars are probably in a secular bear market. They're probably going to decline in price coming up here pretty shortly. And we hope to get better deals on cars in the future, right?
Yes.
And lastly, the industry itself is a little bit shifty, and cars have been growing like education and healthcare and other things. They've been rising in real terms in price, and that's an unfortunate trend as well.
Yeah.
So overall, cars, not the best investment, and if you can unload them and put them into something that's a better store of value, that might be a really good way to go.
But let us know what you guys think. Do you guys think we're totally bonkers for even believing there to be a car bear market?
I think they think you're bonkers for trying to ride your e-bike around town.
I think I look awesome on that thing, but that's just me. All right, well, this has been fun.
This has been our barely bullish take on cars. Let us know what you think. Let us know what kind of cars you're driving, or motorcycles, bikes, I mean, whatever your primary transportation is, we'd really like to know.